Hi, thanks for joining me. Thanks for taking part of this. I want to talk about Andean and Amazonian ceremony and myths. A, because I've been blessed to learn a lot about them. B, because they've become a passion of mine. C, because I think there's so much that has been lost in the pre-European cultures of South America. I could go on and do the alphabet, but I love this shit. and I want to share it. And I think it's something that I use most days, and a lot of people haven't been exposed to. I'm Michael Peter Langevin, and I first went down to Peru in 1973. I had a college South American political science teacher who had just returned from a tour of South America. When she spoke of Peru, I got chills up my spine. It was in the fall, and by holiday Christmas break, I knew I had to go. Didn't have enough money, but that has seldom stopped me in my life. I took what I had and hitchhiked from Boston in a blizzard down to Miami, where I bought a ticket to Peru that was open-ended at the other end. When I landed in Lima, I had $30 in my pocket, and I was determined to stay in Peru as long as I could and to see most of the highlights. Well, I love many things about South America, Latin America, Peru, but the fact that people live from their hearts, are not all, of course, but are open and generous. I found out on that trip, and every time I've gone back since. People picked me up, brought me to their homes, fed me, gave me rides to my next stop. I got to see Lima. I got to see the lines of the Nazca lines. I got to see Pisco, where they make Pisco, the alcohol that if you haven't had a Pisco sour, you really need to try one. I got to go down to Arequipa, where the Andean princess is preserved in ice. She was a sacrifice. And into the Coca Canyon, where the condors fly so close you can almost touch them. And there are miles and miles of Incan stoneworks. From there, it was getting cold, and people told me I wasn't safe. So I got on what amounts to a cattle car going up to Puno. It was right around Christmas. And the only other guy on the cattle car was an older man who spoke very little Spanish. His main language was Quechuan, which is the language that was used by the Incas. I spoke very little Spanish, and we communicated. Eventually, he asked me in a way I could understand, "Where are you going on Christmas Eve, you dumb gringo?" And I said, "Oh, I'm going to Puno." "Do you know people there?" "No." "I will be getting off the next stop. Come with me to my family's home and celebrate Christmas with us." It was quite a hike from the train station to his family's home. And I was treated like royalty. I got to eat llama, alpaca, guinea pig for the first time in my life. These are foods that are eaten and have been eaten by the Quechuan people, the descendants of the Incas, for centuries. And it was so good to me. The next morning, he took me high on a mountain overlooking the valley and pointed down to a smoky area on the coast and said, "See that? That's Lima. That's where we Quechuan people keep our white people on their reservations. They think they rule us. They think we're dirt. We rule our wolves. And we are dirt. We're happy dirt." Eventually, I got on the train. They don't run that train anymore, sadly, but I got on the train and went up to Puno, got to see the city where the gods and goddesses brought the Inca Empire onto shore. the Uru Islands that are made out of reeds because the native people were avoiding the Spanish conquistadors, the island of the sun, the island of the moon. From there, I went up to Cusco, and in a hostel, I met a group of international students, as you do in youth hostels, and they were going to hike up the Inca Trail to Machu Picchu, which is where I really wanted to see. Now, this was 1973. Inca Trail was pristine. The air is thin, the hike was arduous. We were choosing coca leaves because they allay the effects of altitude sickness. There was a student from Peru, a student from Mexico, one from England, another one from the States. And when we got up close to Machu Picchu, we stopped in a new excavation they were making called Huayna Picchu, which they believe was the farming village that supplied Machu Picchu. At that point, Machu Picchu had no guards, a small hotel, and few visitors. The student from Peru gave us a tour. I was in awe. We slept out under the stars. It was the first time in my life I had seen the Southern Cross in the sky and the different constellations. The next morning, all the other students were going on to Veracamba, which is where the last rebels that fought off the Spanish made their stand, but I couldn't leave. I stayed and went back to Machu Picchu when they left. That night, I didn't have much money, as I said. I had a loaf of bread and some water. And I had the most amazing dreams, where to this day I believe the Inca gods and goddesses from their pantheon, the Sapa Incas, who were the rulers, and their Mama Inca wives, visited me. They didn't tell me I was the chosen one, because I'm not. They said that I had made an agreement with them in a past life, and that I was supposed to do things for them, for me, for Peru, for bringing forth the lost knowledge of the Inca. I told him in the dream, you got the wrong boy. I come from Boston, I'm enrolled in college, I can't even say my R's right. When I woke up in the morning, the bread I had been saving had a huge bite out of the middle of it. I hadn't taken that bite out and nobody else had been around. This went on for 3 or 4 nights. I was possessed by them. I was made to walk down to Machu Picchu in the dark without a flashlight. I danced. Oh, boy, I'm not a great dancer. I danced through the ruins. I had memories of other times. I climbed Huayna Picchu, which is the mountain that overlooks Machu Picchu, in the dark. Finally, after them threatening to kill everybody I loved if I didn't do what they wanted, and nightmares upon nightmares, thinking I was gone totally insane, I stood out overlooking the Andes, and I said, all right, you got a deal. I'll do whatever you want. Just let me go back and finish college. My advice to anyone watching this is don't make deals with gods and goddesses. They're merciless. My life was never the same. I went back to Cusco, and from there back to Lima. And I got back to school just a little late. I had spent 6 weeks, I think, in Peru. I'm telling this story not because I think, oh, I got stories no one else got, although I might, but that's not why I'm telling it, because I want people to understand what exists. I believe the gods and goddesses of the Peruvian pantheon exist. I believe they've affected my life greatly. I believe they can affect anyone else's life. I don't care if anyone believes in them or not. I went back to Peru and then branched out into the Amazon because I had met people that time and they kind of handed me off to other people. I went back a number of times. I got to experience ceremony, and I don't even have words. Otherworldly experiences with many shamans in the Andes, many elders, many healers, and in the Amazon. Again, it was the 70s and early 80s. The world has changed. The Amazon jungle, for a while, was being saved. The lumbering had slowed down, mining had slowed down. In recent years, it's speeded up again. And the old ways and the separated tribes are going away. Many of the shamans in the Amazon and the Andes use ayahuasca and San Pedro and other substances. For me, they opened doorways. They gave me reference points. They allowed me to understand life as I never understood it. One of my favorite stories is that one time after doing ayahuasca, I went out into the jungle and reached out my hand, and I couldn't tell where I stopped and the jungle began. And it wasn't for a week later that I realized I'd been thinking about me and my place in reality very differently, very wrongly, that I don't stop. The jungle doesn't begin. When they say it's the network of life, it's the web of life, we're all connected, it's so true. Another time I was in an isolated village, and any male over, I don't know, 14 or something, had to have this snuff blown up their nose if they wanted to spend the night in the village. And I'm one to, when in Rome, do as the Romans. Blew the snuff up my nose. I fell over backwards. It took a while to get myself back up, but then they did it again and again. And the third time, the top of my head came off. And little brown people danced around me, singing one of the most beautiful songs I've ever heard. I woke up in a hammock. I assume somebody put me there. When I asked the shaman, what was that music? He said, you were blessed. You got to hear your life's song. You got to have the little people who you can call back at any time, the jungle folk, the jungle magical people, come to you and sing you your life song. For years later, when I would be back in San Francisco working in my office, I would call them. They would pop out of my ears and dance around and give me clarity to life. The myths, Pacha Mama, Pacha Mama, the moon goddess, Inti, the sun god, Concha, the creative god. They go from Corona, the boar corn god, little caterpillar, boars into corn, to Elape, the god of thunder. Many of these gods and goddesses have appeared to me over the years. My ex-wife used to tell me not to tell people that because they think I was crazy. Yeah, I'm crazy. But they appeared to me and they affected my life. And the Amazon is a whole patchwork. There's a whole controversy about what existed in the Amazon before it started being documented by the conquistadors, the priests. But the anthropological ruins seem to show that it was heavily populated, well over 5 million people. I believe it was part of the Inca Empire that stretched all the way to the Pacific Ocean. Again, I don't care what people think. That's what I believe. I've seen ruins in the Amazon. Now, most of the tribes have their own gods and goddesses. They have the jaguar god and goddesses. They have Corona, the god who protects the forest, has his feet on backwards, her feet on backwards. She's a shapeshifter, and she befuddles lumber people and miners. There's a whole plethora of gods and goddesses. I've done ceremony and dance on the astral planes with many of them. Ceremony. Ceremony has been practiced throughout cultures, throughout the ages. Organized religions have ritual and ceremony. I've had arguments with a number of traditional shamanisms and untraditional shamans. Some feel that if you're not born in a lineage, if you don't do it the way that it was done 1,000 years ago, it's not valid. A good friend of mine, who's passed now, Marilyn Tanashende, told me the strongest rituals she ever did were in the Mexican desert, howling at the moon and dancing around rocks and cactus. That's more my school of thought. What is ceremony? Well, one of my favorite sayings is to pray is to ask the gods and goddesses for help. To meditate is to become closer to the gods and goddesses. To create is to be like the gods and goddesses. To do ceremony is to become one of the gods and goddesses. Ceremony is a way that there's at least 2 streams of ceremony, probably 1,000, but one of them is that we can use ceremony to bring in the gods and goddesses, the life forces, the energies, the entities, to be with us, to answer our questions, to answer our requests, to expose us to things we wouldn't usually be exposed to. You don't have to use any kind of drugs or mind-altering substances. I've used those because that's the path I was on. I don't use them now. But you can get through drumming, through trance, through meditation, through prayer, through focus. The other path is one of our will. It's a tricky one, but our will can take us and we can alter our realities. I believe to a great degree in my younger years, I used my ceremonies, my focus, my will to create a business, Magical Blend Magazine, and all its spin-offs that went from my living room in San Francisco to an international publication in all 50 states and 33 countries. And I signed over $1 million of checks every year. We printed over 100,000 copies. Did I do that alone? Was it my ceremony alone? Was it the gods and goddesses alone? No. Many, many, many people added and contributed and didn't believe. But I think the ceremony, my focus, my will had a lot to do with that. As I have mellowed, not so much, but a little, I've come to believe that focusing on our requests, our hopes, our dreams, but not forcing our will on reality is a more powerful path of ritual. But there are times I feel so strongly in such a need, I still use my will. I hope you get the difference. What I want to do, I don't have it with me, so I'll describe it to you, but I want to use the Andean cross. The Andean cross comes in many shapes and forms. I wear it as a necklace most times. It represents the 4 directions, all aspects of reality. It represents the lower world, the middle world, the upper world, the underworld, the material world, the divine world. Ah, what a lucky man I am. Someone, my dear wife, has brought me the Andean cross. Can you see it? Yeah. Can you see how it represents the lower world and the stairs to the middle world and the stairs to the upper world? And the whole of the center, we'll go into that in depth a little bit further on. There's a hole through reality. I'm going to lead you in a bit of a ceremony, a meditation, to climb the Inca cross. And from there, we will explore. The underworld is represented by the anaconda, the huge snake. First time you see one, you think you're in a horror movie. The middle world is represented by the llama and the guinea pig, for these are the holiest animals of the Inca Empire. And the upper world is represented, of course, by the condor, who flies above and is a messenger to the gods and goddesses where they reside. This is a very safe ritual ceremony. If at any point you're uncomfortable, open your eyes and just listen. I'll come back when I'm done leading the ceremony. I've never had anyone have bad experience, sometimes bad memories, but not bad experiences. It requires a certain suspension of judgment and a certain willingness to go with it. If you'd like to join me, I invite you to close your eyes. And here we are in the middle world, the material world. And we go down the stairs to the underworld. I will count us down. There's only 3 steps on the Andean cross, but I count from 10 down. It seems to be very effective. 10, leaving the material world, leaving our judgment behind. 9, going slightly deeper. 8, going deeper still. 7, going down below. 6, going almost to the underworld. 5, 4, the last balance stair. 3, 2, 1. Now we step off the stairs. We're in the underworld. There are anacondas about. They're beautiful in their splendor. Splendor? That's a better word. They're almost royal. They're all over the Amazon jungle. Many of the native people eat them. Here, you relax. Spirits of your ancestors, all kinds of spirits reside. Some good, some mischievous. I'm going to give you but a moment to get the feel here and to experience it. Let your imagination run free. And I love the words, what if? What if I was experiencing, talking to an anaconda, talking to my dead uncle, talking to an Incan spirit? What would that be like? I'm going to keep this short. You might have got a feel, you might have got a bit of a message, you might be in the middle of a conversation. You can return at your own, just the way I brought you here. But we're going to go up because we're going to experience these realms. I'm making this recording a little shorter than I will on the actual class. And that'll just because people will be viewing it and we don't want to get them lost or bored. Now we'll go back to the material world, to the middle plane, to the middle space. Here resides the guinea pigs, which Incas and Quechuan people today use as we use chickens. They have high door sills in their house. They're part of their families. And when it's time to eat, they throw a rock on one and skin it, and they have it as they do chicken. Alpaca is a delicious, nutritious meal. And llama, often stringy but good. Now, llamas are smarter than humans. If you put more than 70 pounds on a llama's back, it sits down and won't move until you take off a pound. Won't carry more than 69 pounds. So, we're going to go up 5 stairs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The material world as you've never seen it. Bright with bird songs, breeze of early summer, flowers, the feeling of ancient magic. The Inca Empire was full of magic. It was run by magic. Now I'll leave you here again for a short period of time. Call for an answer, reach out to see if there's a messenger for you, or just experience the different vibrations here. Breathe deep and savor. Again, I'm going to cut this short. You can come back anytime you wish. The astral plane exists beside the material world. And a lot of times when you visit the material world like this, the middle plane like this, you might see things that wouldn't normally be there because you're a little bit more filtered into the astral plane. Now we're going to go up. The material world is called Pacha. Pacha means land. The underworld is called the Yaka Pacha. And the above world is called Supremo in Spanish, Pacha, higher land, highest land. We're going to go up 5 steps there. You may meet a god or a goddess. You may meet an energy. You may meet a lost loved one or friend. Ask for messages, get a feel, make a reference point that you may come back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're now in the realms of the gods and goddesses. Pacha Mama and Inti dwell here. I've visited them often. The sea goddess, the moon goddess. If there is an energy or an entity, there is a goddess or a god for it, and they reside here. I'll leave you be once more for a short period of time. Just get the feel of having gone to a place you've never been before. See if there's a message or an energy or an entity that affects you or touches you or gives you a gift. Now we're coming back. We're going down the 5 stairs on the other side of the Incan cross to back to our world, to our everyday world. And from there, I'll tell you a few more stories. We'll have one more ceremony, visualization exercise, and then we'll open it up for questions. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're back. You've touched, hopefully, these planes of existence through the lens of the Inca Empire. The Inca Empire is a huge area of controversy, as most empires who didn't have writing. You can see behind me one form of the Apus. It is believed by some, me among them, that they used ropes and string and tied different knot patterns, and that this was their written language. But there was no writing, there were no hieroglyphics, there was nothing left. There's clay pots, there's ruins. I disagree with most of the anthropologists and archaeologists, but then I disagree with a lot of people as to what existed and what they were. Some feel they only existed for 100 years before the Spanish came. I think that the rules of the Sapa Inca are representative of dynasties, and that they existed thousands of years. And they stretched from Colombia deep into Chile and Argentina, all the way across Brazil to the to the Atlantic Ocean. Some say it was Pacha Mama, the second last ruler before the Civil War, before the Spanish came, who made them great. I know he left his mark on the empire. The Inca trails stretch everywhere. The Inca ruins are endless. To see them is phenomenal. Cusco was the center of the kingdom, the center of the empire. Cusco is the hole in the middle of the Andean cross. Cusco is all possibilities. Cusco was designed in the form of a jaguar. At the top, the sexy woman. Rocks as big as a house, fit together so seamlessly that you can't put a knife or a piece of paper between them. And when there's earthquakes, they get stronger. In the center of Cusco was the temple that was the holy center with a golden sun disk representing Inti. And on Inti Rayman, their winter solstice, the sun hit this disk and it went out through all the windows of the temple. And the sun touched all parts of Cusco. The tail of Cusco was the river Rimac going south. The trails went not only to Machu Picchu, but to the Nazca lines, to Lima, to Ecuador, into Chile, into Brazil. I've been there, I've had visions there. I strongly believe that the energies that the priests and priestesses created there are still strong today, even though there's over 1 million tourists who come through. Last time I was there, a few years back, one of the shamans told me that I should not grieve that Machu Picchu has become a Disneyland for tourists from all over the world, for it offered itself up to inoculate people to the wonders of the Inca and their lost knowledge. The Inca Empire had an amazing priest caste who were great at predictions. They knew that the Spanish were coming and were going to conquer them, and that they felt it was their destiny, and that their people had to suffer through hundreds of years before they could come out the other end. They would tell the future by cutting open guinea pigs and looking at their entrails, by sacrificing llamas and doing the same. They had a whole caste of priests who counted the hairs on spiders' legs to predict the future. And kernels of corn averaged to be grown each year. clouds and how they floated in the sky, the birds and how they flew. They were connected to nature in a way we can't even imagine. An Inca mother and father would leave their kids in the care of the trees in their yard to go hunting or gathering crops. And they believed that the trees would call them if anything was wrong. And it seems to have happened. They prayed before they dug the foundation for a house to the Apus, the gods of the mountains, and to Pacha Mama, the earth goddess, and to many other gods and goddesses, that the energies might be just right, that they might be aligned with nature. It is through prayer, I believe, that they survived and prospered. They would come to a new village, they would do a ceremony, they would speak to the leaders of the village and say, you have two choices. You can join our empire. We ask you put our gods and goddesses higher in your temple, and that you donate work and some of your crop each year to the empire. And otherwise you can keep just the way you are. Or we can conquer you, and those that don't die will move you to different parts of the empire and you'll never exist again. Many joined. In northern Peru and Ecuador, it was mostly a matriarchal. And the women said, hell yeah, we're down. And those women ruled those villages under the Incas until the Spanish came and dismantled them, said it wasn't right for women to be rulers. I feel that the healing, the ceremonies, the way of viewing reality aren't lost. They've just been hidden. And they'll come back to us. I guess the rest of the story that I was telling earlier that I didn't finish is that I went on back, got my bachelor's degree, and went to San Francisco and started Magical Blood magazine, as I've spoken of. Came back to Peru many times. The most monumental was in the middle of the Civil War. They had a guerrilla group, Maoist guerrilla group called the Shiny Path, who almost toppled the government of Peru. I was in Lima when electricity and water were going off for days. People were being shot in the streets. It was there that I adopted my two children, whose parents, we assume, were casualties in the war because they had been abandoned on the outskirts of Lima. Henry, we're pretty sure from his features, was born in Puno, and Sophia, pretty Limanese, born in the Lima area, but a lot of Quechuan blood. I thought I would die there during that war. I didn't think I'd get out with my two children. My son and daughter, well, the night they became my children, I heard the Inca gods and goddesses, and they said to me, you've moved another step in keeping your promise with us. Take good care of them, raise them well. Did my best. Henry is a 31-year-old manager of an electronics store, telephones, computers, what have you, and a great friend. Sophia is a third grade teacher who puts her heart into every class she teaches. 30, another great friend, two of my best friends in the world. The gods and goddesses have been good to me. I went on to write The Secrets of the Ancient Inca and The Secrets of the Amazon Shamans. I think all of that and doing a webinar like this is part of keeping my promise to the gods and goddesses of Peru and South America. Now, we're going to do another meditation. This one I'm going to leave you a little bit longer with, even though it's on recording. We're going to go to the center of the Incan cross. To get there, we must go through the colors. Some say that a magic worker, a sorcerer, a shaman must pass through the abyss in order to come out the other side, reborn like a phoenix or whole. See what you think. We're going to do the colors of the rainbow to get there. Again, if you relax, breathe deep. We'll start with black. We'll go to brown. Green. To yellow. To red. To pink. Blue. Purple. To ultraviolet. To beyond ultraviolet. To a place of everything that's the center of the universe, all potential, and the void. For everything and nothing exist together as two yin and yangs of the whole. Here you can find the answer to your heart's desire. You can find a dream. You can be met by all kinds of beings. Or you can just sit in the energies of it. I'm actually going to get up and leave the camera and let you to meditate, but I will be right back. Now, take the knowledge or the experiences you've gotten, gather them up. Maybe you're a shaman. I'm not. I've just been taught by many. Maybe you're a magic worker. Maybe you've passed through to a new level of your being. Maybe you just got a taste. But we'll come back up the colors, down the colors. From this blanc void, we'll go to ultraviolet. And then to violet. And then to blue. Then to pink. Then to red. To yellow. To green. To brown. To black. And now we are back. We are back in our material world. Hopefully better for the experiences. I have some jokes I've told for years. I'm going to get some new ones one of these days. But let me tell a couple of them as part of this. Because if we can't laugh at ourselves in reality, what's the good? Peru claims to be a Catholic country, predominantly. And I asked an elder in the Andes one time, do you pray to Pacha Mama or do you pray to the Virgin Mary? And she said, oh, sometimes one, sometimes the other. I don't really differentiate. Does it matter? That's the kind of Catholic country they are. 30 miles from Cusco, you can go into a church, and on Sunday they're doing a Quechuan mass that is identical to what was done 500 years ago by the Inca. Anyway, the Pope came to Peru. He got off the airplane, and he used to take this Pope mobile where it had all plastic around him, and he was protected, and he could wave to everyone, but it didn't come, you know, goof ups. So they had a chauffeur-driven limousine. And he got excited. He said to the driver, can I drive? I haven't driven forever. And the driver said, you're the Pope. You can do whatever you want. Where do you want me to sit? He said, oh, get in the back. So the chauffeur got in the back, and the Pope pulled out of the airport, going way over the speed limit, and was pulled over immediately by a Lima policeman who said, excuse me, wait for a minute. Went back to his car and called headquarters. And he said, I don't know what you do. I just stopped somebody very important. And they said, is it a politician? No, it's not a politician. Is it the mayor of Lima? No, it's not the mayor of Lima. Is it the president of the country? No, it's not the president of the country. Is it someone from the UN? No, it's not someone from the UN. Well, it's definitely not the president of the United States. No, it's not the president. Well, who is it? And he said, I don't know, but he's got the Pope driving for him. I love that story because we all have the Pope driving for us. We all have the sacred within us. We're all undefinable. Ceremony, prayer, meditation, dance, trance, lucid dreaming. The tools are there. We've all watched too many reruns. Sophia and I have watched too many reruns of Star Trek and Star Wars in the last few months. What you gonna do when you can't go out? But when we turn off the TV and we spend time in sacred space, these places we've touched can be revisited. They can be explored, expanded, used as touchstones that we can return to at our will. One more bad joke. When Sophia, my daughter, was little, she used to wet the bed. Many of us did. I got to getting up and waking her up, taking her to the bathroom, to try to teach her how to do that. And one night, 3 in the morning, I woke up, I was taking her to the bathroom. She looked at me and she said, Poppy, Poppy, what do they call a seagull that flies over the bay? I said, Sophia, it's 3 in the morning. I'm hardly awake. I don't have time for jokes. Let's just pee and get done with it. And she said, they call it a bagel, Poppy. They call it a bagel. Why do I love that song, that story? Because anything can be anything. We can transform our lives, and I've been blessed to be able to do it time and time again. We can bring into our lives the people and experiences we want. We just have to believe in ourselves, keep our eye on our inner strength, ask ourselves the inner answers. Now, anyone who wants their questions answered, anyone who's unclear about any of this, anyone who wants Coca reading or a personal class, call me at 434-260-9952 or look at my blog, Michael Peter Langevin, Langevin, or email me at michaelpeterlangevin@gmail.com. Sophia and I also print the Echo World magazine, which you can get online at echoworld.com and on Facebook as well. A joy to share my passions with you. I hope you got a feel. I'm going to be doing 4 more of these, an hour a week on Friday nights. And I'm charging for. So again, get in contact with me, sign up, and we'll make it available for you. Thank you so much. And believe in magic. Make magic your life. Make ceremony your life. And bring the Inca's lost wisdom to you.